What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome, along with Tyler Stafford, and fresh from Las Vegas, Josh Reddick. Josh, did you survive Vegas, and did you come back with your dignity intact?
I did, but I survived and I still had my dignity. Played a lot of great golf. Didn't lose too much, but lost it pretty good because I think I ran into every hot dealer they had there. I mean, I was spitting out 18s. They were spitting out 5 and 6 card 20s. I'd flip over a 20. They'd get a blackjack. Just, one of those trips that just could never go your way. But yeah, I survived. WrestleMania was awesome. And yeah, so I'm here. I'm not hurting anymore, so I'm good.
I'm not a wrestling person. Who won WrestleMania? Is there like a victor? Is there how did that go?
Battle Royale for WrestleMania. No, so everybody, there's all kinds of matches, but the one that you probably know, Cena. Yeah. John Cena won his 17th world title, which passed Ric Flair for the most in wrestling history. So he passed the Nature Boy in the main event of night 2 at WrestleMania. So pretty historic moment to be a part of.
Does that make him like your arch nemesis now that he took it from Ric Flair?
No, which is funny though. I'm sure you saw my Instagram post, but I did dress up as Ric Flair to seal the deal and help out the moment. But it was awesome. I mean, if you're any kind of follower and to get my first WrestleMania under my belt, especially being in Vegas, just is icing on the cake. So it was fun to kind of go out there and be the wrestling fan that I don't get to be hardly ever.
I think of you every time, Josh. I have to drive to Mont Bellevue because there are 2 giant like Vape City billboards that have Ric Flair on them, and it always just cracks me up. It doesn't say anything. It's literally just like Vape City. We have a lot of locations. Here's a picture of Ric Flair, and I just love that advertising idea. I'm like, all right, there you go.
I mean, you're going to get some head turns just by looking at Ric Flair. So advertising worked.
If you haven't looked at Josh's Instagram, I highly recommend you do. How many of those robes do you own?
So I have the red one, the gold one was just like a cheap Amazon one that I got from my buddy. But I have they did a giveaway in my Houston Astros time with the robe giveaway. So I have like 2 of those, one with my name on it for that. The red one doesn't have my name on it, but I have the same person who made Ric Flair's robes that works for WWE made the robes for my wife and I in our wedding. If you ever saw those pictures, they're red with the sparkles on it. And so I've got that one tucked away, very wrapped up, very for keepsake because it was not a cheap one. So I'd probably say around 5 or 6 total.
It's got to be hard for you to pick which one you want to wear on a daily. When these events come up, it's got to be hard for you to pick those.
Well, that was the first time I actually went full costume at a wrestling event. So that one was pretty easy. The fun part was getting my buddy convinced to wear his. The wig was great. The sunglasses were great. The best part was, you kind of blend in. Nobody can know who you are, and not that anybody would, but nobody knows where you're looking because you have sunglasses on. And the best part was every time we walked out, we would go into the VIP club because I know Triple H. My bad, little. We'd go get a refill. Every time we'd walk out, we would just woo with everybody. Everybody was just wooing at us. So we'd be strutting and profiling and wooing all the way back to our seats. So it was kind of like a wrestler's intro every time we would go get a refill.
This definitely sounds like your nirvana, and I'm very happy that you got to experience this. While you were in Vegas, the Astros swept the Toronto Blue Jays, who looked pretty terrible. My God. The Blue Jays, we'll get to, this is not a Blue Jays podcast, so we won't get to them, but they went 9 for 90 in 3 games against Astros pitching. The Astros played unquestionably their 6 best games of the year on this homestand, going 5-1 against the Padres and the Blue Jays. We'll talk a little bit, since it's passed so much, we're not going to talk too much about the games, but we'll talk about something that happened before the first game against the Blue Jays, and that was Cam Smith taking fly balls in center field. It was hilarious. So I didn't actually see this happen, but was told that it was something that they're looking at. So I went to interview Cam the next day, and Josh, you'll get a kick out of this. I was asking, this was all on the record. So I was asking, how his transition to the outfield's going, how he feels out there and everything. And the last question of the interview, I go, hey, have they started hitting you balls in center field? And he goes, yeah, they told me to go out there yesterday and catch fly balls in center with Chaz. He goes, I don't know if that was intentional or not. I don't know if that was an accident. I go, Cam, this is the big leagues, man. They don't do anything on accident here. So Cam's he's still very new to this whole situation. But as I wrote in the Athletic on Tuesday, look, this is not something that they are talking about. He's going to be the full-time center fielder. This is still a situation that is very fluid. This is something he could never log an inning in center field. Who knows? They just want to have him ready, and they want to have him as an option in center field as they look at ways to kind of raise the floor of a lineup that is pretty clearly at least one bat short, probably two. Josh, as you've watched Cam Smith in right field, he looks, I mean, Dave Clark told me for that story I just talked about that he looks like he's been in right field for his whole career. I think the actual phrase was his whole freaking career, as Clarky said.
PG post.
Does he look as natural to you as he does to maybe us who haven't played the position? And how do you think, if they need him, how do you think he could translate to center field?
I think he looks surprisingly better than I think anybody expected being out there. He's, I think the athlete part of him just kind of takes over, which is all you need to be as an outfielder. Just have a little athleticism and take your right route, and you've got everything pretty much covered. So his route running obviously could probably get better, which is something you would expect from not being out there for his whole career. But for the most part, I'm giving him an A+ on everything he's doing out there. We've seen the arm. He's got really decent accuracy for a guy who's never been, that long motion, short arm kind of throw the ball a long way. So everything he's doing is living up to more than what we all expected. As for center field, I think it's going to be easier for him to learn to make that bump over. I mean, center fielder for any natural outfielder is going to be like, well, I'd rather play center because the ball's going to play true. You're not going to get top spin balls out there. All you're going to do is worry about ball going one way, ball going the other way. And like I said, you can react a lot easier and a lot better off the bat as well, because everything's right there in front of you, as opposed to the corner. You're kind of playing with, a little bit of movement, but you get to see everything more natural. So I think center field could be a definite option for him if he keeps it up.
Yeah, and that felt like a Cam Smith story, but it also feels like a Zach DeZenzo story. It was a big series for me and my fellow degenerates out there who had a great series. I mean, despite sitting for a month, it seems he just wakes up and comes out and is just ripping balls. And so, I mean, it is so funny. We spent the whole offseason going like, are the Astros even going to be able to field a team of outfielders? And now we're watching them go like, well, what do we do with all of these outfielders that we have? How do we get everybody?
Technically, they're all infielders, but yeah.
Technically, yeah.
All I'm hearing, Josh, is that the outfield is a fake position and anybody can do it.
Major League Baseball is making outfield turn like into a joke. Like anybody can just put a glove on and go out there. But in a world where hitting is irrelevant anymore and you can just hit homers and strike out, then I guess we can put anybody out there.
Tyler, you're right that this is something that they have been actively looking for ways to get Zach DeZenzo more involved. And I mean, he's not going to play first base over Christian Walker, no matter how much you guys clamor for it. Christian Walker is making $60 million. They're going to give him a very long runway, and he's looking better, as we'll get to in a little bit. He's not going to play third base over Isaac Paredes. He's not going to play shortstop over Jeremy Pena. There has been some there's been some fan scuttlebutt is, could they hit Zach DeZenzo ground balls at second base? Guys, the reason Jose Altuve is not playing second base anymore is because they want their defensive infield to be better. Breaking in another inexperienced guy there, that runs counter to everything that they did this winter. He's not going to play. Well, it's tough for Zach DeZenzo to play left field over both Altuve and Yordon Alvarez. This is really the only place they can get him in is in right field, and whether that's part of a timeshare with Cam Smith or whether that's trying to get them in there together. And I think another thing that this kind of signals is, maybe they don't think this start from Jake Myers is real. And I don't mean to denigrate Jake Myers, who's been very good. I mean, he's been one of the few kind of bright spots of this team offensively early, but I mean, this is a guy with a career 87 OPS plus. We saw this fast start last year from him, then kind of fell off in the second half. And Josh, it's pretty obvious that the upside offensively that both Cam Smith and Zach DeZenzo give you really kind of outweighs what Jake Myers can give you offensively. But I think there's also a debate to be had. Jake Myers is one of the best, if not the best, defensive center fielders in baseball. Like, I mean, how do you kind of size up this debate or this, kind of that Joe Espada and his coaching staff are going to have if Cam Smith acquits himself and shows that he can be an option in center field?
Well, I believe it becomes a timeshare for kind of all three of them. You kind of play your matchups. I mean, you definitely are going to want Cam Smith in the lineup every day at this point. I would hope and think. I see you over there, Tyler, getting excited.
I've been saying it since before the trade.
I've been on the train. I've been on the train early myself, but I don't brag about it. But yeah, I think
all I have, Josh. Don't take it from me.
with DeZenzo swinging it the way he's swinging it, you got to get him in there, and when tough pitchers can get in there and kind of give you a mismatch, then you can get Jake Myers in there and kind of keep him hotter and maybe kind of restrict him from that cool off zone and kind of keep him in a confident frame of mind. And then obviously you're going to want to bump him into the outfield in that later inning close game, and you put Cam back over to right. Maybe that's where you drop DeZenzo out of there, or even if we're talking about taking Altuve out of a close game, if he's not anywhere near up to bat, then you can kind of move them all around. But I think right now you just kind of figure out a power triangle, so to speak, and you pick your two hottest and two best. We have too many analytics to freaking worry about that now anyway. So just analyze it up and throw them in the computer, whatever spits out. That's what we put on the lineup sheet anyway, ain't it?
That's kind of how it's been going. Yeah. Look, I think this does turn into something you just said. And I want to make clear that this is so early. Like Cam Smith, they're not going to run Cam Smith out in center field in a major league game anytime soon. No. I think their goal is to have him as an option or someone that they could consider doing this with when they start a stretch of 17 consecutive games on May 9th. It goes May 9th to May 25th. I think by then they want to have an idea of if this could work. Because it's at that point, when you play 17 in a row, it becomes you got to get 30. He'll be 35 by then. You got to get 35-year-old Jose Altuve some DH days. You got to protect some guys and just some of the younger guys too. Like you don't want to play them 17 and like you need some options. You need some flexibility. You need some ability to maneuver your outfield. Excuse me. And I think that's when they want to see if this is a real thing. So again, not permanent position change, he's not going to be starting in center field any of these 3 games in Kansas City. Like, let's slow the brakes on the Cam Smith to center field thing, but it's certainly something that they're considering, something they're thinking about, and something that they want to see how it looks. And it is all a testament to how good Cam Smith has looked in right field.
Put him out there when Hunter Brown's pitching. He's probably not going to ball anyway.
Or Fromber. I mean, yeah.
Or Fromber. I mean, you throw him back out there, you just let him get out there and get as comfortable as he can, and when one comes his way, make it a surprise.
And then you have the bullpen coming in, and like you said, you can move him over. You can put Myers or McCormick or whoever out there, and let him get some reps out there.
Get his feet wet. Little feet wet.
And Josh, the one thing you did say before about his routes maybe not being great yet, one thing that Dave Clark and I talked about, and it's pretty obvious when you watch him, like the routes probably aren't like 100% yet, but he is so freaking athletic.
The speed and his size make up for that.
Yeah. Like it does not matter that his first step may not be ideally how you want it, or like he breaks in on a ball that you have to break back because he is so fast, man. He looks like a wide receiver out there sometimes running the way he runs. He can make up for a lot just with that athleticism, and you can't teach that. Like you can't teach
that comes natural, and his movements and his body movements are completely natural and work great out there. Like you said, you don't need perfect routes when you're fast as a kid like that. You can just make that adjustment, and it helps that he's 6'4" as well, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", so he can reach a lot of balls that people probably can't reach.
He's gonna have one of those home run robberies in right field where he can just stand up and grab, not even have to jump on that fence over there.
It's so easy fence, such an easy fence to rob homers too.
The one thing that surprised me, Josh, and maybe it shouldn't have, but when I was talking to Cam about what's been the biggest adjustment out in the outfield, he said, I didn't realize until I started playing the outfield how much time I have out there, like how much time there is to react. Because you got to remember, this guy's coming from third base, where the reactions have to be like a millisecond of contact. Now he's out there. It's like he's like, I can finally take my time a little bit. I can read the ball and get to the spot. Now it obviously helps, like we just said, he's super athletic, and it takes him less time to get to his spot than most right fielders. But I found that interesting that he talked about how he had to adjust to having more time in the outfield when it comes to reactions, when it comes to reading balls. I thought that was interesting.
It is, yeah, because sometimes you can't just go off initial ball to bat. I mean, sometimes when the ball's flying true, what's going to happen, but you get those top spinners that kind of turn into the ones that kind of rise up on you. You kind of got to wait those out and figure out what they're going to do. So it makes perfect sense what he's talking about. And I can imagine, for me, I've never played third base in my life, so I can't imagine the reaction time you would need for that. So I guess I can understand where he's coming from, talking about possibly needing 30 more milliseconds, which is a lifetime for a third baseman, especially at a big league level, used to guys just roping balls down the line at you. So it makes perfect sense what he's talking about. Kind of gives him a little bit more time to kind of run through his mind how it's going to work.
So I take it he's just not a third baseman anymore. Like that's just not ever going to happen.
I think that ship's gone.
I think that's what people thought anyway, right? But
Isaac Paredes is here for the next 2 years. Christian Walker's here for if you wanted to maybe move him to first base, like Christian Walker's here for the next 2. Like he's blocked at the primary positions on the infield. He's not a second baseman. He's not going to play shortstop. Like, yeah, his permanent home is probably in the outfield for the foreseeable future. Now, could they move him back to third base if Paredes gets hurt, or if Paredes underperformed? Or sure, I'm sure they could. But yeah, it seems like his permanent home is in the outfield.
Sounds like they're grooming. It sounds like to me like they're grooming him to be the next George Springer. If they want him to move him to center field, and he's got potential to be that guy.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Speaking
of not a bad
one. Not awful.
No. As much as Tyler would love this, we're going to move. We're not going to talk about Cam Smith the whole podcast. We're going to move on.
That's what you think.
We're going to talk about Hunter Brown and his ascension as he returns to the scene of one of his worst ever days as a professional baseball player. We're going to talk about that right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Kratz, do you like spending an hour on grocery shopping?
Nope. Speed up the process, please.
Introducing Hungry Root to the FT fam.
Now we can all be bougie with our own personal shopper to handle the food shopping, including recs based on what you're looking to put in your body.
I stack my Hungry Root box with items like gluten-free, dairy-free blueberry waffles for breakfast, shrimp veggie bowls for lunch, and a little filet mignon with potatoes and broccolini for dinner.
You can also say just, hey, Hungry Root, I eat paleo, or I'm vegetarian, and they load up your cart with personalized recommendations.
And those recs keep evolving as they learn about what you're into. Also, no BS, as in no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as FT does. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/FT and use code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life.
So on April 11th of last year, Hunter Brown made a start at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. He allowed 11 hits and 9 earned runs and got 2 outs. I don't have the numbers in front of me as if that's the worst start in Major League Baseball history, but it's up there. It's very close. Since April 12th, the next day, since April 12th, 2024, Hunter Brown's thrown 193 1/3 Major League innings. He's got a 2.61 ERA. Only 2 starters in the big leagues have a lower one in that time frame, and that's Tarek Skubal and Max Fried. Hunter Brown's an ace. Hunter Brown is the ace of this team. He is the ace of he's an ace in every sense of the word, and it has been remarkable to watch his turnaround since that day in Kansas City where I was there, and I thought he was going to get optioned after the game. Like it was that bad, to the point where the start was that bad. The bullpen had to cover The bullpen had to get 8 1/3 innings worth of outs. He was not good in his first couple starts. To watch his turnaround since then has been nothing short of remarkable. And we've talked so much about what's allowed it. He started throwing the sinker, and it's just been confidence, and it's becoming a point with Hunter where his starts are nearing like appointment viewing. Like he's getting in that echelon of like, hey, you want to start mapping out when Hunter Brown's going to start because you want to get tickets to that game, or you want to get tickets to that game. You want to tune in. You want to be there. You want to see how it goes. Tyler, I struggle to bring up Verlander's name, and you don't want to put those lofty expectations on a kid, but it's getting to a point where, like, remember when like peak Verlander in 18 and 19, you were looking at the schedule to know when he was going to start, and because you wanted tickets, you wanted to see Garrett Cole the same way when in 19 when he struck out 330 batters. Like, it's almost there with Hunter Brown, where like he is becoming appointment viewing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
little one came in.
Oh,
yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's to the point now where anything less than like 6 innings, 1 run feels like what happened today. It doesn't matter who he's facing. He's able to just go out and dominate. And yes, it's the sinker, right? I mean, adding that has given him stuff, but it feels like every pitch he throws is like, whoa, that's like the best version of that pitch in the big leagues. Like I was saying the other day that the curve that he throws is a cartoon pitch, and it's not even one that you think about really with him, but it's ridiculous. I don't understand how anyone hits off of him, and they haven't. So I guess I'm correct that it might just be impossible. But he's one of those guys too, and I think this is what the definition of an ace is even when you don't have your best stuff, even when you're not sharp, you're still able to grind through. And we've seen that a couple of starts already this year where you watch him and you're like, oh, he doesn't really have it today. And then you look up and it's the 7th inning and he hasn't given up a run. And you're like, how did that happen? How is he able to do that? Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's incredible. He's a top 5 pitcher in baseball, and I don't even think that's an argument anymore. I mean, he's so good.
Josh, you were on those teams with peak Verlander, and you've been on teams with like unquestioned aces. Like, what is it like in a clubhouse when like you have a guy like that where when you come to the ballpark, like this dude's pitching, like we're probably winning today?
We've got a very good shot. On the flip side of that, when your ace is going out there, you're pretty much facing the other ace most of the time too. So not necessarily the easiest task, but I think when you get to go to the ballpark, especially when you line up guys like Verlander and Garrett Cole back to back, you got a pretty good feeling you're going to win 2 in a row pretty easily with only all you're going to need, it feels like 3 runs. And with our lineups, that was pretty easy to do. Was get 3 runs. Seems like we'd always get those guys some really good run support, and it made our day on defense that much easier, especially when you got guys, striking out. I think both of them struck out 300 that year, did they not?
Yeah, they did.
When they're both striking out 300 plus in 2 of the 5 days, it's making not only the outfield, but it's making the infielders' jobs a lot easier to be able to focus on hitting a lot more. So makes our day a whole lot easier.
Did you guys when you're in the grind of a season, like a lot of times you don't have time for perspective. You don't have time to like think about things in a macro sense. But like in that 19 season, when Verlander and Cole were doing that, did you guys ever just like have that perspective? Like, oh my God, like this is incredible. This is like one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
I think I did. And I know I did for most of the part, with the locker spot I had with Springer and Brantley. I felt like we talked about that plenty of times, just looking across the way and going like, guys, do you realize who's in our starting rotation? Like the fact that, we got Zach Greinke and he just gets thrown out into the back burner because he's the number 3 starter on this team. It's pretty funny and laughable when you can kind of forget about a guy like that, because when he came over, he was pretty much unstoppable as well. And when you're just looking at those guys, you're like, man, guys, let's just focus on our hitting today. It's like I said, just focus on your hitting today, because these guys are going to go out there and give us 7 with 10 punchies and, just keep us off our legs and more focused and energized. But yeah, I think we sit back and go, even if you're not talking about it, you just look back across the locker room and you're like, we're a part of something special here. And that's the best way to look at it, because we're very fortunate. Not a lot of guys get to experience that at any time in their career.
But the crazy thing is, again, with Hunter Brown, he's got that ability to, punch out 10 guys without breaking a sweat. But also when he does get contact, as opposed to a lot of strikeout pitchers where they're fly ball out guys, and sometimes teams can just accidentally run into a 3-run inning because there's a bloop single and a walk, and then they can hit a home run. Like, that doesn't happen to Hunter Brown either. I mean, he gets weak ground ball contact, so he's got that side of the ace, and then also able to strike out anybody at will, it seems like. I mean, he seems unstoppable. I know it's probably not going to last forever, but I don't see how he can be hit right now. I just don't. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's not like Verlander and Cole, who were elevated 4-seam guys that, like, I mean, Verlander, even at his best, was giving up, 1 or 2 homers a game. They were all solo homers, and solo homers don't beat you. Same thing with Garrett Cole, but like, and that's like the one thing where you look, everyone wants to make the Hunter Brown, Justin Verlander comp. And look, there are some similarities. You look at the delivery, Detroit, obviously, but like Hunter Brown doesn't rely on the 4-seam on the top rail like Justin Verlander did. Justin Verlander was very much 4-seam up and then 2, slider or curveball down. Like, Hunter Brown's got more weapons. Like, Hunter Brown goes to the changeup a little bit more than Verlander did. Hunter Brown's got the sinker. Like, if we remember one thing, the Astros told Justin Verlander, stop throwing your sinker when they acquired him. Hunter Brown's been the complete opposite. It's please throw it more. Please throw it. He threw it to left-handed hitters in St. Louis, and it worked well. They're not one and the same, but you're seeing it done a little bit in a different way. He's given up 1 homer all year, and that was on a cutter that was at the top. It wasn't even a strike that Juan Soto hit the other way and kind of tip your cap.
Happen.
Yeah, you tip your cap when Juan Soto just hits a perfect pitch out.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's been unquestionably the brightest spot of this, and we knew he'd be good coming into the season. But what he has done has exceeded just about any reasonable expectations I think anyone had for him. Speaking of not fulfilling expectations, the Astros lineup, they enter this series against the Royals with a .349 team slugging percentage. That is the 6th lowest slugging percentage in baseball, which probably explains why they have the 6th lowest OPS in baseball at .659. There's been a lot to like about this offense. It hasn't produced runs. I'm not sitting here trying to put lipstick on a pig. But the way the at-bats have come, like they're seeing more pitches. They're walking more. The at-bats look better. The production is just not there. And it's because they have no power. Like, they're not hitting for power. They're just hitting a bunch of singles. They're having to string hits together, which is hard to do against good pitching. Like, it's hard to string 3 and 4 singles together against good pitching. You're seeing them run the bases aggressively. They're going first to third a lot. They're going second to home on singles. It's because they haven't hit for much power to start this year. We spent the first segment talking about Cam Smith and why they're looking at this center field thing, and it's to get a little bit more upside in the lineup. But Josh, for this lineup to function as it wants, to get power, Christian Walker has to hit for extra bases. Yainer Diaz has to hit for extra bases, and Yordon Alvarez. They can do whatever they want in center field. They can think Zach DeCenzo will help, but until the middle of their order, until the guys that they pay to produce runs start putting the ball in the gap, start hitting the ball over the fence, it's going to be difficult for them to score runs.
It is, and I just want to state, and I said, I know we texted this, but I told you Christian Walker needed an off day at the yard, not one at home. So we can kind of ease off the Christian Walker talk. He does need to obviously keep the run he's going on. He needs to keep producing and doing what he's doing. But, here the picture is Yordon. I mean, Yordon, we expected to have at least probably 7 or 8 homers by this point. He's got 2 in the back pocket. Yainer has 1, and that's from 1 good game. He's had 1 good game at the plate all year. But you focus around those 2 guys because they were your catalyst at driving in runs and hitting the ball to the ballpark last year, and you're just not seeing that. Luckily, you get Isak hitting balls out of the ballpark right now. Altuve doing Altuve things, and Cam Smith loves hitting there at Dyken Park, it seems like, but you got to have production from those guys that you're supposed to have it from. And that's really all you can say about those guys. There's no way else to sugarcoat it, put lipstick on a pig, as you say, but there's no sugarcoating anything right now. These guys got to get it done.
Yeah. And Yordon's going to, I think he has earned all of us just saying like, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm not worried about Yordon hitting. I think there are very few things you can count on in life, and Yordon hitting home runs is one of them. It's going to come. When does he get to play in Baltimore? For some reason in my head, that's what is going to unlock it because of the, crazy home run game that he had there a few years ago. So if that comes soon, that's when the breakout comes for me. But he's looked better in the past couple of games. He's had a few, warning track fly balls, which, I'm assuming will turn into home runs at some point. But, the thing about the Astros lineup this year, as you've said, is the production has been down, but it seems like the floor is much higher, right? Because even though the power isn't there, the at bats consistently across the entire lineup are just better, and you have more opportunities for somebody to have a good game with a couple runners on base, and you can make it through that game where you don't have to rely on Yordon or Yiner or whoever coming in and saving you from the game, because it does feel like top to bottom, the ceiling isn't as high because you don't have the crazy, 3 true outcome guys who can run into just a cluster of home runs. But like I said, the floor is much higher for getting embarrassed in a series or something where, they do have the ability to put together good at bats and have runners on base. It's just a matter of getting them in. And, like we said, Yordon's going to get there at some point. I'm not worried about that yet.
I have an encouraging Yordon Alvarez stat that would back up what Tyler just said. So he enters the first game in Kansas City with a .338 slugging percentage, which just saying that feels absurd.
Mm-hmm.
His expected slugging percentage, according to Baseball Savant, which takes into account launch angle, quality of contact, things like that. His expected slugging percentage is .504. There's only 8 guys in the big leagues that have a bigger difference between their actual slugging percentage and their expected slugging percentage. To me, what that says is, look, he's been getting a little unlucky. But look, you can say expected stats all you want. You have to produce. So there is some underlying stuff there that would suggest that he is hitting balls hard. He is hitting balls on a line. He's hitting balls that should fall for extra bases that are either right to guys or either the wrong part of the ballpark, things like that. So there is some merit to the whole. He's close. He's getting there. Josh, I wonder what you thought about Joe moving Yordon up to the 2-hole. That sounds like something that they're going to keep going here for a little while. I liked it for a couple reasons. One, when they kept hitting him with Walker and Diaz right behind him, scuffling so much, like, of course he wasn't going to get anything to hit because they're not going to mess with him. They're just going to go to the 2 struggling guys right behind him. And then I think, Isaac Paredes has shown that he's got a knack for, he's not going to strike out. He's going to put the ball in play. Mm-hmm. If you can get Isaac Paredes up with guys with runners on base, with, more kind of scoring situations, that's kind of the bat and that's kind of the profile that you want maybe up with runners on. What do you think about Yordon in the 2-hole?
I thought it was a great thing. Like I said on our last show, we talked about shuffling the lineup a little bit just to give some guys some different looks and kind of get the guys who are swinging the bat well the opportunity to drive in those runs. So I'm all for it. If it's anything, just to get him better pitches and get him some better knocks, but to just kind of get some guys some other looks. I mean, look what it did. You kind of switch some guys up, and Christian goes off, hits, has a 3-hit game, hits a couple homers. Isaac Paredes is doing everything that he's been doing all year for them. Is a great spot to kind of back them up and give them the help out that he needs and the support he needs in the lineup. So I'm all for it. You figure out those guys, you get your hot guys in one order. That way you get the best chance of scoring. And then you let the rest of the thing flow in and let your bottom of your lineup hopefully turn it over. Hopefully Yiner figures it out soon. But I'm all for this move.
Do you like Cam Smith hitting ninth?
It's not a bad thing. I think the way he's swinging the bat, he probably could have been moved up a little bit more in a run producing role to see how he'd handle it. But at the same time, it seems to be a comfort level for him now. He seems very good down there. He's swinging the bat a lot better, whether it's from his move in the box, whether it's the move in the lineup. But if he's comfortable down there, he gives you a great chance to help turn over the lineup. He's got the best protection in the lineup. He's got Altuve, Yordon right behind him, so he's going to get some pretty good pitches to hit. So they're probably trying it out to see how he handles getting some better pitches to hit. So it's a great move. I really like it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't want to hear this because look, the games count. Every game counts from game 1 to 162, but a lot of teams use the first 20, 25 games of a season to really kind of get to know their roster a little bit, to get to know kind of how things work, how, whose spring training was real and whose wasn't. And like Joe and his coaching staff are really right now still really getting to know kind of how this roster functions. We couldn't really talk about this last year because they started 7-17 and they started chasing wins so quickly that it didn't really matter how the roster was functioning at that point. It was just pedal to the metal to try to get wins and get out of the hole. But now that they're 13-11, it's not, these games do matter and they're trying to win them. Don't misunderstand me, but first month of the season, I think Joe is using a lot of time to kind of see which lineup construction works, kind of how late game substitutions work, especially in the bullpen, like who responds to what roles, who is, trustworthy in certain roles. I know a lot of people were very incensed that Taylor Scott is pitching a lot. You use this time to see kind of who you can trust in leverage roles when things really get going in like May and June, when you're in a stretch of 18, 19 in a row and you don't have this luxury of being able to work with the lineups a little bit. So it's been, and I think that's why you've seen it. That's why you've seen a lot of, tinkering. That's why you've seen a lot of different guys in different spaces. You've seen a lot of different late game defensive replacements. You've seen relievers working in interesting situations. I think it's a case where they're still trying to figure out how this roster works, because this is a roster with a lot of new faces and a lot of just kind of new skill sets that this team hasn't had in a while.
Yeah, and what's crazy is the Astros have not really been good, and they have the third best run differential in the American League. Now, granted, most of the American League is in the negative. The Astros only have a +11 run differential, but again, they haven't even been playing that well, and they're still, in the top of the American League. And so, once things start clicking, because again, it's not like they're being held up by, oh, these guys are way overperforming what we thought, and this is a mirage. Like, it almost seems like a mirage that they've been this bad, right? Yes. And it's tough to say bad when they're doing fine, right? They're 13-11. It's not like they're bad, but they haven't been playing their best, certainly, and they're still one of the better teams in the American League. And so, once those things start clicking, I think they're still in a really good position to have a good season.
Yeah, it'd be different if Yordon was on an otherworldly tear and Altuve was hitting 450 and this team was 13-11. You'd be like, okay, this is going to regress to a mean at some point. But no, they're doing, and Josh Hader even said this after the sweep and against the Blue Jays. He said, we're doing this with guys that we know are going to produce that aren't producing. And I think he said it's a scary thought to think if and when those guys turn around and start to produce, what this team's going to look like, because it's been, if they can get one or two of Alvarez, Walker, and Diaz just going to their career levels, then it really kind of transforms this team, and it stops us from talking about batting order construction or like who's going to play center field on a nightly basis. Like those things become moot when like Yordon Alvarez has a 550 slugging percentage, or when Christian Walker's hitting 25, 30 home runs. But one interesting thing, I guess we should say, I don't want this to rub salt in wounds. Kyle Tucker has 7 home runs this year for the Cubs. Yordon Alvarez, Christian Walker, and Yainer Diaz have combined for 5 home runs. So that's tough. But good for Kyle Tucker, who's going to be a very, very, very rich man.
Doesn't Bregman have like 6 or 7 as well?
Yeah, Bregman has like a 970 OPS.
Yeah.
Which like
he hit one out of Fenway the other day, which was cool. And then I saw that it was only a home run in 2 ballparks because of the way that it goes out of Fenway. But
you're gonna see that
awesome.
number. You're gonna see that number pop up for Alex Bregman at Fenway a lot more than anybody in Major League Baseball.
That's cool. That is probably the most aesthetically pleasing.
He's not dumb.
Yeah.
Alex is not a dumb hitter. We can say that he's not a dumb hitter.
He knew what he was doing too. When he was in free agency, he looked at Comerica Park, he looked at Fenway, and was like, I think I know where I want to hit.
There's a lot more doubles than homers.
Did you see Kyle Tucker had a hit the other day, and he hit the Uncle Mike celebration?
Did he? No, I did not see that.
Yeah,
of course he did. He probably still walks out to Mike's walkout song too. He was doing that last year here in Houston, so he's probably just imitating everything Mike does.
I love that he was doing that. He was acting like Mike was like dead or like retired. Like he didn't leave the earth. Like he was like, because I asked him, like, I was like, are you like, did Mike want you to do that? He was like, no, I want to do it as like a tribute to him. I was like, Kyle, he's not dead.
He died. He's pretty much dead. That's funny that you bring him up because when at the Wednesday's game. Sorry, Wednesday's game. I had a couple of my son's teammates from their t-ball team go to the game. And so I told them all to yell at George, but instead of yelling George, you go out there and yell Chelston, which is his middle name, which is what Mike and I called him. And so they sent me a video of him calling him Chelston. You can see George go. And then he messaged me after batting practice, like, did you tell people to say Chelston at the ballpark today? And I sure did. And then he went over there and talked to him. So he made the kid's day. So George did a positive thing while being made fun of. So it was great.
George, by the way, who is having an incredible start to his season after
Poor guy.
Poor guy. No one else in the Blue Jays lineup is, but George is having a great start to his season after a couple of seasons that I know didn't live up to his expectations. But it was good to visit with George. Good to visit with Miles Straw too. Miles Straw was in town with the Blue Jays. You walked into that clubhouse. You walked into the Blue Jays clubhouse, and it was like Astros spring training clubhouse. Yimi Garcia, Will Wagner, Miles Straw, George Springer, James Click was hanging around. Like it was a but very few former Astros are on the Kansas City Royals, where the Astros will be this week. And then a very notable former Astro will come back to Dyken Park, AJ Hinch, and the Detroit Tigers will come into town next week.
I'm coming to the ballpark on Monday too now. Easy.
Josh Reddick, AJ Hinch's favorite former player, will be at Dyken Park as part of the Space City home. Now, are you doing pre and post, or are you doing radio?
Pre and post for all three. So you get me for 3 days up in the media room. I cannot wait for that food.
You don't have to pay for it. I have to pay for it.
I do have to pay for it when I'm working for the Space City Network. Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness, we got it.
If I'm not doing radio or anything like that, I'd have to pay for
it. This will not stand. I'm gonna go to war for you over these $12 you're gonna have to pay.
Hey, I usually go down to the main concourse and get me food that's worth $14.
Did you see the waffle sandwich that they put out?
I might dabble in that next week because you get me for all. I get to go next week. I might try that at maybe the day game. The day game might be the call.
The day game probably is the call. Fortunately for the Astros, and unfortunately for everyone else that's watching, it looks like they will miss Tarek Skubal. He's not. If they stay in rotation, it doesn't look like Tarek Skubal will pitch for the Tigers at Dyken Park, but Jack Flaherty will. So will Casey Mize. That'll be a very interesting series for a lot of reasons, just to see kind of how those two teams match up, because I think as you start to look, those are two of the better teams in the American League to start out. But first, the Astros have to go to Kansas City and take care of the Kansas City Royals this weekend at Kauffman Stadium. We will be back when that series concludes to talk about what transpired, to talk about Hunter Brown probably lasting more than 2/3 of an inning this time at Kauffman Stadium. Maybe Yordon Alvarez slugging percentage will more resemble his expected slugging percentage. And who knows, maybe Yiner Diaz will get his OPS over 500. If he does, you can tune in here to hear all about it. Please rate and review us on Apple. Please subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notifications every time we post a new video and go live. We will talk to you guys after the Royals series, and thanks for listening. Thanks for the outpouring of support as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.